Come take my hand and see the world around you. The time is right, just let the light surround you. And step by step you feel it coming alive. The feeling deep down inside.
The best memories are made when you take the road less traveled. Visit wanderingbutnotlost.com for some inspiration.
Today on Wandering Zen, we are going back to the parks. Starting April 18th through the 27th, I believe it is National Park Week 2020. Usually it's get up, get out, and get to a national park and find your park. This year, under our shelter-in-place orders across the United States, that's a little difficult. But I am telling you, the National Park website and the National Park Foundation never fail, because they have put together a collection of items on the website this year that allow you to stay home and probably do more wandering than you've ever been able to wander before. Plus, awesome and incredible quizzes and games and stuff for kids, virtual tours, an opportunity, a gallery opportunity for you to jump in and submit your own stuff. It is really fascinating. I went down the rabbit hole preparing for the show today, and it filled a little bit of that void that I'm having about not getting up and getting out, because it was just so awesome to see other people's kind of through their eyes and through their minds, what their experience had been like at the national park. So Jan O'Brien, once this is all over and we're able to comfortably and safely and mentally be able to get out and do something, do you have a destination in mind, or are you going to Sedona? Because I know that's your...
Oh, it's so funny you should say that. I was just talking to friends about, as soon as there's an opportunity to stay at Airbnb, Sedona, I'm going.
I remember you talking about that place.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to get back. And I was just telling you before we started that I bummed about not being able to, well, hopefully at some point later, being able to get to a park this year.
Right. Yeah. It's so, I had made the vow every year that I wasn't get to Channel Islands National Park. And this year I'm like, you know what? I've talked about it forever. I'm going. Well, unfortunately this year I couldn't. I mean, when I was set and ready to go, couldn't go. So thankfully they have an incredible underwater webcam for the Channel Islands. Do you see the kelp going? It's absolutely fascinating. So I get a little bit of Channel Islands going on there, but I am telling you right now, mark my words, when this is all over, Sweet Pea and I are headed to Sequoia. Yes, we'd love to go there, but
I would go there again.
Yosemite, absolutely. It's been too long since we've been there, and I am really, really needing to get up and get out and go through that tunnel and just, experience the park. It was funny. We went to Yosemite a lot when we were first married, and then there was this long gap where we didn't go there. Matter of fact, quite frankly, we went to Vegas a lot during that time. We were young. And when we kind of started getting back into the road trip scenario, for our vacations, the first time we went back to Yosemite, we were driving up, over the mountain, kind of getting ready to go through the tunnel, and we both kind of went silent in the car, and we drove through that tunnel, and we got out on the other side of that tunnel, and we were both crying. It was the most amazing thing, because that place really touches both of our hearts, and it had been such a long time since we've been there, and it is absolutely the most beautiful. It's like you could not have created an entrance to a park more spectacular than that tunnel view entrance at Yosemite. So I can't wait to get back there and do
I'm
that.
having that vision right now.
Oh my God.
That tunnel. With you too, because you guys introduced me to Yosemite. Yeah. And you were great, because you weren't like doing, you were just waiting for me to have that experience. Like, we're going through, and then I was like, what? Like your eyes just go, what? And you have to pull over, and you're just like, speechless. It's breathtaking.
It is breathtaking. There's not too many places. I mean, there's a panoramic views everywhere,
right.
But there's something about that, especially if you have, even if you've been a million times, but if you haven't been before, you've seen Half Dome and El Capitan and Bridalveil Falls. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. So anyway, that's where we're going. And I don't know. I've been just, because you have time on your hands, right? I've been looking at videos and pictures and stuff from all of our travels. And I just feel like we've been so blessed to have been able to go so many parks over the years. And, hopefully everything will get back to where we can do that all again. But I'm telling you, beyond the moment is the memory. And boy, we've got some great ones. So I'm very thankful for that. So let's get into what the National Park Service and National Park Foundation have put together for this year, which I think is probably one of their best things. You know, in 2016 was the 100th anniversary of the National Parks system, and they came up with the slogan that year, "Find Your Park." Well, Find Your Park never really kind of went away since 2016, but it is back with a vengeance this year, because you can stay at home and find your park. So let's just go through a few of the things that are on the website that I just think are great for the whole family. I introduced some of this stuff to my wife last night. She's going to use this. She's going to have National Park Week next week with her online classroom, right? There's a lot of little things they can do. So let's just talk about some of the areas. By the way, all of the stuff I'm talking about is over at the show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com or wanderingbutnotlost.com. Although I have written some of this blog post, truth be told, and full disclosure, a lot of this I copied right from the National Park website, because if it's not broken, don't fix it. So plagiarism at its best, but I'm sure they'll appreciate it too, because it's just another place getting the word out, you know, to go. So they have one place here called Picks and Recs. And it was just kind of like Parks and Rec, I think, but kind of clever little spin on that. But you can actually, anybody, and it goes through an approval process, but anyone can post their national park pictures or write a little recommendation. So you can write a little blurb about that. I love doing stuff like this. And last night, I'm like, how did I not know about this? So, of course, I submitted my Yosemite story. And this morning when I got up, I went online and there it was. My little...
You're published.
Yeah, published on the NPS Foundation website. But anyway, it's cool. The photos on there that have been submitted and approved are spectacular.
Nice.
Some picture from every place around the United States, parks all over. You could spend a day just looking at all of that stuff, and it's really cool. So, Picks and Recs is one area. Getting social, they've done some stuff for social media, which is really cool. So, speaking of Instagram stories, which we were talking about earlier, if you go into your Instagram story and you type in National Park Foundation in the sticker area, they have a couple of different stickers on there. They have one that says "Find Your Park," and it kind of flashes a little bit. I forget what the other one is, but I'm going to be using the heck out of those next week. And then they had something on Twitter as well, and I forgot exactly what it was. So
you're working your stories.
I'm working. Well, you know what? I have not been a Instagram storyer, but I'm going to be working my story next week, all with National Park. That's a week-long dedication I'm doing.
I'm excited about that. There you go. It's like a focus for the week is exactly. I'm going to own stories.
Just to see what that's all about. Right on. They have a link on there to a page called Park Tracks. I think they do actually it's maybe not a weekly, but there is a ongoing series that's on that. But if you go to that page, there is a 12-minute audio of just sounds of the national parks. I listened to it probably 4 or 5 times last night as I was putting the show notes together.
Oh man!
There's birds and waterfalls and animals and leaves and wind. I mean, it is just fantastic. So check out Park Tracks. Then they have this whole section. It's called "Get Your Game On." Oh my gosh! They have everything you can possibly think of for kids all the way up to adults. They have quizzes on there. They have a National Park Bingo, virtual National Park Bingo, which is so cool. And this is how layered.
How do you play that?
Well, the virtual National Park Bingo had things on it like take a walk or go for a hike, and you got to mark it off your bingo card. Or I saw an eagle or something like that. So obviously you're not at the national park, but it's nature inspired type of stuff. But what I thought was so cool, and that this was clearly not just thrown together in a day. You click in there, and then they have like 3 or 4 different versions of the cards. So you can click on it and get a whole different set of bingo squares and questions if you want to play that. I'm telling you, the game thing was awesome. And I didn't go in and take quizzes because I was already down the rabbit hole, but I can't wait to get back in there and check that out. Of course, if you're of a certain age, and I believe it's 12 or under, and I don't know how they would even be able to judge that now, but you can still become a junior ranger. There's a number of different places, national parks, that they have set up to where you can go in and study the national park and become a junior ranger and get your junior ranger bag. And they include Abraham Lincoln's Birthplace National Park, the Klondike Gold Rush National Park, Denali National Park. And then there's a place where you can actually become a spaceflight explorer, which is really cool too. So if you have kids, you want to get them involved in the park system, they can still become a junior ranger. And then there is this page that I it will probably visit every day. It's a place where they have virtual park visits, and it gives a list of all the webcams that they have throughout the system at the national parks. But there are some 360-degree videos they've done. You know, the videos that you come on that you can actually rotate the you know, you can scroll around.
Like we do for our virtual
exactly.
tours
like,
of a house.
Exactly like that. I have one actually in the show notes of a virtual tour of Crater Lake. It is fan-frickin-tastic, because not only do they have you have the ability to move around, they have inserted like highlights, like pointing to the sites they're talking about, and some of the it's the most well done 360 video I have ever seen, and it is really, really cool. So check it out on our show notes, but then go over to the virtual park site to to see more of them. And then after all of that stuff there, if you haven't found your park, or if you are looking for a new park, we've kind of done the deep dive on the National Park website. And we have on our show notes giving you a link from our show notes back to the website, the National Park website, of every single state in the United States. So if you are like, hey, what's going on in South Dakota? You can punch the button. It'll go to the site where you can visit all of the park there in that particular state. So, I mean, once you get on the National Park website, you can do all of this stuff, just by clicking around here. But our show notes and our blog posts are a perfect place to jump off and go find out what you're looking for. Also on our show notes this week, I have a series of videos just from my experience in travel throughout the park. But because next week is National Park Week, and we want you to be involved, and hey, go be social on social media. If you haven't been to a park and don't have a lot of photos of your own, or if you just want to have an additional set of photos, we have included in our show notes today a download of 16 really awesome, if I do say so myself, built in Canva, by the way, National Park posts. They're actually sized to Instagram, but you can use them anywhere. They're square, that go through 16 national parks. It has, I think, 9 pictures from those national parks, in each one of them. So some great stuff you can download, use as your own, and participate in National Park Week online. But I'm sure all of y'all out there that are listening to this already have 1,000 national park pictures to share as well. Another thing that just always coincides with National Park Week, of course, is Earth Day. Earth Day is next Wednesday, April 22nd. I have to say that probably out of all the years is it 50 years that Earth Day has been around, or I think it was 1870 when it started. Yeah, so 50 years. This is probably the most thankful Earth Day we've had in many ways. I mean,
wow, totally.
Because the world has been shut down for, a month or so, or longer in some places. And, it is giving the chance to the Earth to breathe a little bit. Now, does that change everything? Does that unwind global warming? Hell no. But it does show, I don't know if you've noticed this. I don't know it's like this in Vegas, but when we're walking around, I can't even tell you how many more birds we're hearing chirping around. It is.
Yes. And the skies are clear.
Yeah.
You've noticed that. I mean, haven't you seen the news stories, like how China is saying like their air quality is better? The whole thing about the Venice canals. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy how the Earth can heal itself a little bit if it has a breather.
Yeah, I have been watching posts,
which tells you how much we do as human beings to destroy the dang Earth.
Jan, thank you for bringing it. I was actually going to go there next, and I think that is the key to this. If you are a climate denier, and you are seeing what's happening to the world with just 30 days of less, CO2 and all of the harm we do to the planet, how that has improved just the slightest, tiniest little bit, then you should have, if your eyes aren't, if you're not woke, you're never going to be woke.
But the force of Mother Nature and the Earth in general, of how, there's stories after stories of how the nature will take over in a place that's abandoned by mankind, and everything just proliferates again and comes back. It's what's happening. It's very intriguing because there's so much. Awakening is kind of the theme here for all of us. If we really dig into being, people are freaking out about it being like, oh my God, 33 days. I can't take it anymore. And I'm like, there's an opportunity here to wake up and just appreciate so much right now, as opposed to going down the negative hole, watching endless negative media and You know what I mean? Like that's it. I've gotten sucked into it a couple times, but I've taken I've done some things recently to go back to those roots of what's the upside in all of this, what's the positive stuff that's happening, and then that just helps you with your whole demeanor, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Really
Afternoon, we have so many hiking trails around where we live. I feel really blessed to be living where we are, and you wouldn't even think they'd even be there because we're in the middle of Orange County. Orange County. So anyway, it's crazy. But when I was walking yesterday, I was really reflecting upon how thankful and how blessed and how fortunate I have been to do the things I've done and go to the places I've done, because we don't really know what it's going to be like, you know. So, but you're right, Jan. Being optimistic. This is that time that we can make some actual, really huge changes to improve the standard of living, not just for us, but for our children and decades, you know, people decades to come. So
all inhabitants of the earth.
Yes,
all inhabitants of the earth.
We are the world, for crying out loud.
We are the world.
Yeah. Getting to your point about how nature starts to take over, I've been reading and seeing a lot of videos and posts from Yosemite talking, because the park is closed. There's about 100 or so people still in the valley that are there just because they were there, right? And they're sheltering in place. And oh my God, what a place to shelter in place, right? But how the animals are there are so many animals down the valley floor that aren't typically in the valley because, you know, there's people around, and they are saying that, you know, it's not like those animals aren't around. They're just like on the sidelines. But now they're able to wander the meadows and do things they haven't done in a long time without the worry of cars and humans being all over the place. So,
it must be amazing, man.
I can't.
The images.
You know, I don't get envious very often, but I am a little envious of you know, it would be so wonderful to be in that park right now. Any of the parks, really, but
be a park ranger right now.
Yeah, just to go in and just to be able to be around all that, because it would be so different. So anyway, so much you can do from home during National Park Week, and I really encourage you to go to the National Park website. Go to our show notes. Actually, there is a link to everything. This particular show note series today has probably 100 links in it, so you will not get bored jumping off and going down the rabbit hole this year for National Park Week. I just really encourage you to get involved, get up, get out, be wandering but not lost, and please go find your park.